On the news around the world tonight, Senate approves manual e-transmission of election results. Oyo Deputy Governor seeks review of Nigeria's federal structure. U.S. official faces 100 years in jail over complicity with Nigerian fraudsters. Good evening and thank you for joining us on the news around the world. I am Josephine Oluwabumi and on the sign language canal is Shakirat Ogundeji. The Senate today amended Section 60 of the Electoral Act to allow presiding officers at polling units to electronically transmit election results to the Independent National Electoral Commission's INEC Results Viewing Portal, IREV. The decision came during an emergency plenary session with Senate President Godswill Akpabio outlining the procedure for the new system. Senator Akpabio said that the presiding officer shall electronically transmit the results from each polling unit to the IREV portal after Form EC8A has been signed and stamped by the presiding officer and or countersigned by the candidates or polling agents where available at the polling units. He also clarified the fallback mechanism in case of network challenges. He added that if the electronic transmission of the results fails as a result of communication failure, the manually signed and stamped Form EC8A shall be the primary source of collation and declaration of results. The amendment, approved as Clause 63, follows a motion by Senate Chief Whip Mohammed Mogono, seeking to reverse the Senate's earlier rejection of the real-time electronic transmission. Meanwhile, the Senate today appointed 12 members to work with the House of Representatives to harmonize the controversial amendment to the Electoral Amendment Act following recent public uproar over the bill. The announcement was made by the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, during an emergency plenary session. According to Senator Akpabio, the committee will liaise with their counterparts in the House of Representatives to reconcile differences between the two chambers' versions of the bill. He urged the lawmakers to meet on time and resolve the issues so that the President can sign the bill this month. The Electoral Amendment Act has faced widespread debate, particularly over provisions related to the electronic transmission of election results. The Joint Committee is expected to deliberate on these contentious issues, including voting timelines, transmission of results, and other technical reforms, before presenting a harmonized version for final approval by both chambers. In the same vein, the Senate was thrown into confusion on today as lawmakers reconvened to revisit their earlier decision on the electronic transmission of election results contained in the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2026. Proceedings turned rowdy shortly after the Senate Chief Whip, Senator Tahir Muguno, APC Borno North, raised a point of order seeking the rescission of the Chamber's earlier approval of Clause 63 of the bill. Muguno anchored his request on Orders 1B and 52(6) of the Senate Standing Orders 2023 as amended and was seconded by Senator Abdul-Nengi, PDP Bauchi Central. However, the move immediately sparked tension in the chamber, with several senators raising points of order in protest. At the height of the disagreement, Abaribe invoked Order 72 of the Standing Orders, calling for a division. The President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, then asked Abaribe whether he was proceeding with his request for a vote. Tuesday's extraordinary sitting came less than 1 week after the Senate passed the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2026 amid growing pressure from civil society organizations, opposition leaders, labor unions, professional bodies, regional leaders, and youth groups. The proposed amendment of the electronic transmission of election results in Nigeria has continued to generate strong public reactions, including protests in the nation's capital and widespread condemnation from various quarters. The amendment, however, is not an outright imposition. Rather, it is a recommendation by the National Assembly to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, for consideration, especially as the country's general elections draw closer. Our reporter, Awa Ibrahim, looks at the development and other issues surrounding the controversy, and the report is presented by Bimisola Adebayo.
The Senate to convene a conference committee with the House of Representatives to harmonize differences in the various versions of the Electoral Act amendment, particularly on whether the electronic transmission of election results should be mandatory or left to the discretion of INEC. While the House of Representatives endorsed real-time electronic transmission of results, the Senate adopted a conditional approach, a move that has sparked widespread public criticism. These developments have triggered protests across parts of the country, driven largely by the Senate's decision to make real-time electronic transmission optional rather than compulsory. Protesters, led by civil society organizations and prominent political figures, including Peter Obi, argue that the decision creates what they described as a legal lacuna capable of encouraging electoral malpractice. They fear a repeat of irregularities witnessed in past elections, which they say could further stall Nigeria's democratic growth. Speaking on matters arising, our BCOS TV magazine program, political analyst and politician Mr. Dele Adewale expressed the view that Nigeria is not ready for real-time electronic transmission of election results.
It will save money, and it will save Nigeria from bad wagon effect. The bad wagon effect is this. If we elected somebody as president, some people will say, let our governor belong to his party, so that our party will gain, so that our party will, our state will not be at opposition. So they will use that one to campaign against the next election. But if it is a day, you have your fate. So it will save cost, and it will give us a better result.
According to him, poor internet connectivity across many parts of the country could expose the electoral process to manipulation and potentially trigger prolonged post-election disputes among contestants. He further noted that beyond network challenges, issues such as human error and inadequate infrastructure on the part of the electoral empire could hinder the effective implementation of electronic transmission.
We are not ripe for real-time voting because there is internet problem. Even you yourself, take your phone now, call somebody. You will be discussing with that fellow. Before you know, your phone is off. When you call back, they will tell you the person is not available again. Those are the issues we are facing. So if you want to look at, take e-transmission, the same problem will happen. Talk less of all these things. There are so many polling booths that doesn't even have internet, that you cannot even call or use internet from that polling booth. You have to move to another area before you get internet. There are so many villages that you have to climb tree before you get internet network. You have to climb mountain. So are you not telling me if you want to do e-transmission in all this area, you'll be climbing tree or you'll be climbing mountain to get network? So we are not ripe for this thing.
While electronic transmission of election results remain a central aspect of ongoing electoral reform discussions, stakeholders insist that adequate infrastructure, transparency, and institutional preparedness must be in place to prevent disputes and safeguard Nigeria's democracy.
We shall now go for a short commercial break. Please stay with us.
When your share of 3 billion naira with Nivea. 1,000 naira airtime guaranteed with every entry. Become one of 10 millionaires weekly or win a chance to see Real Madrid live. 3 SUVs to be won. Buy any Nivea 400ml promo product, scratch and dial to enter.
Some say learning is fun, but as a mom, I see how demanding it can be for my child. That's why I ensure he starts every day with a cup of Bonvita. Bonvita, prepare them to win every day.
Win your share of 3 billion naira with Nivea. 1,000 naira airtime guaranteed with every entry. Become one of 10 millionaires weekly or win a chance to see Real Madrid live. 3 SUVs to be won. Buy any Nivea 400ml promo product, scratch and dial to enter.
You're welcome back. Oyo State Governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde, has lauded the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Adebo Ogundoyi, on the successful completion of his tenure as the chairman of the Conference of Speakers of State Legislatures of Nigeria. The governor described Ogundoyi's tenure as eventful, noting that he recorded remarkable and trailblazing achievements and made the state proud through his efforts while he served as the head of the Conference of Speakers. This was just as the governor congratulated the new chairman of the body and Speaker of the Delta State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Momotimi Guo, wishing him a successful tenure. According to Governor Makinde, Right Honorable Ogundoyi's historic emergence as the youngest and first speaker from an opposition party to chair the body was quite remarkable, with his emergence symbolizing as generational shift and ushering in a reform-driven and inclusive leadership. The governor saluted Ogundoyi's vision and commitment to service, which he noted enabled him to achieve the initiation of the digital transformation of state legislators by partnering with the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, to modernize legislative processes and the defense of legislative autonomy by strengthening the institutional voice of state legislatures. The Oyo State Governor further praised Ogundoyi for leading the conference to achieve the harmonization of legislative procedures, establishment of post-legislative scrutiny unit, noting that Ogundoyi spearheaded the creation of Nigeria's first post-legislative scrutiny unit at the sub-national level. The Deputy Governor of Oyo State, Barrister Bayo Lawal, today called for the interrogation of the federal structure of Nigeria if the country craves for growth and development. Barrister Lawal made the call while contributing as a panelist at the 2026 National Economic Council Conference held at the Banquet Hall of the State House, Abuja. The Oyo DG, who alongside the Bayelsa State Governor, Minister of Regional Development, the Deputy Governor of Delta State, among others, discussed a sub-theme, strengthening interstate collaboration and strategies in a federal system, pointed out that there was a great imbalance in power devolution in Nigeria. He suggested that all the encumbrances militating against running a true federal system be addressed. Barrister Lawal hinted that interstate collaboration is a necessity in a federal system, citing the creation of Amotekun Southwest Security Network as a case in point. Submitting further, the Oyo DG said the collaboration between the southwestern states, which led to the birth of Amotekun, has brought about an improvement in the security of the region. Corroborating the position of the Oyo Deputy Governor, the Oyo State government has reaffirmed its commitment to improving traffic management through sustained capacity building and the promotion of ethical service delivery. The head of service, Mrs. Olubumioni, made this known at a one-day seminar for commanders and ticketing officers of the Oyo State Road Traffic Management Authority, ORTMA. The seminar themed Steadfast Service, Building Resilient, Ethical and Effective Traffic Management was held at the Local Government Staff Training School, State Secretariat, Ibadan. Details are presented by the Governor's Office correspondent, Olalekan Sulaiman.
Addressing participants at the seminar, the Oyo State Head of Service, Mrs. Olubumioni, represented by the Permanent Secretary, Service, Policy, and Strategy in the Office of the Head of Service, Mr. Taiwo Mustafa, emphasized that effective road traffic management is a vital element of the state's overall risk management framework. She noted that continuous training is essential for improved performance, stressing that officers cannot be held responsible for lapses if they are not adequately equipped with the necessary skills and knowledge.
We must also at all times demand strict adherence to the ethics of our profession as traffic managers. It is important you must adhere and stick. Those that deploy you are strategic enough to know that they need more than 2-3 people in that place. If you are tired, assign another person at all time because that place is strategic.
Mrs. Oni further highlighted that resilience must be complemented by ethical conduct, adding that public perception of traffic officers is largely influenced by their individual behavior and level of professionalism on the road. And in his welcome address, the chairman of the Oyo State Road Traffic Management Authority, OITMA, Major Adekoya Adeshagba, retired, urged traffic officers across the state to uphold resilience, ethic, and professionalism in the discharge of their duty.
This training will go a long way to tapping their performance and ensuring they adapt with the ethical behavior and be resilient in ensuring that we move traffic management forward in Oyo State.
In their separate goodwill messages, the State Commissioner for Establishment and Training, Professor Soliu Adelabu, the chairman of Oyo State Civil Service Commission, Alhaji Kamarudin Adelibibe, the permanent secretary, Ministry of Finance, Dr. A.A. Fashino, and the principal consultant, Mr. Kayode Ogudeji, emphasized the need for dedication and professionalism among OITMA officers. They also appealed to the OITMA chairman to recruit additional marshals in order to strengthen operations and improve efficiency across the state.
We still need more because occasionally there is some adult staff whom you call mayor, and they cannot perform as this staff of the agency because they are not on any bond. No string attached. They can vote away any time. They can do whatever they like. And when they misbehave in town, people think it's OITMA. Whereas the adult staff of OITMA.
It's not that these people are not good, but they can always be better because as events are happening, they need to keep trend of the event. There are ways they must have been doing some things in the past that maybe we feel that we can do it in another way and get a better result.
The event was attended by the General Manager of OITMA, Mr. Adekola Adeoye, Olalekan Sulaiman, BCOS News.
Time for another short commercial break. Please don't go away.
This Ramadan, it's not the season to hide, it's the season to let my beauty shine. Nivea Nourishing Cocoa Lotion 5-in-1 Complete Care. Discover deep nourishment with cocoa butter, deep moisture serum, and vitamin E for long-lasting moisture and protection from dry and ashy skin without the greasy feel. Get the Nivea Nourishing Cocoa Glow this Ramadan. Skin is for always shining. Nivea is for skin.
Thanks for being there. The federal government has directed the Federal Character Commission, FCC, to intensify enforcement of the Federal Character Principle across ministries, departments, and agencies, MDAs. The federal government emphasized that fairness, inclusion, and public trust in governance depend largely on the Commission's actions. Secretary to the Government of the Federation, SGF, Senator George Akume, gave the directive today in Abuja at a 2-day induction and sensitization workshop organized for members of the 5th Board of the FCC. Akume, represented by his senior technical advisor, Professor Babatunde Bernard, said that the Federal Character Principle remained a constitutional imperative and a cornerstone of national cohesion, stressing that must be implemented strictly and without compromise. He urged the board members to discharge their duties with objectivity, professionalism, and unwavering loyalty to the Constitution, noting that public perception of fairness and justice in governance would largely depend on their conduct. According to him, the federal government expects the Commission to strengthen data-driven oversight mechanisms, promote transparency, and work closely with relevant stakeholders to ensure inclusive governance in line with President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda. The Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, has said Nigeria must reduce its dependence on borrowing and build a stronger, more reliable domestic revenue base if it is to stabilize its finances and fund development sustainably. Edun spoke today at the management retreat of the Nigerian Revenue Service in Abuja. He warned that the global financial environment had become increasingly hostile to developing economies, making debt-driven financing more costly and less viable. He said the world was retreating from multilateral cooperation, with countries prioritizing domestic interests and scaling back cross-border financial support. According to him, this shift had left poorer and developing countries facing an unfavorable balance between what they receive from abroad and what they pay out in debt service. The minister linked Nigeria's rising debt pressures to a series of global shocks, including the COVID-19 pandemic, geopolitical conflicts, and trade tensions, which have forced many developing countries to borrow more while paying higher debt service. The Nigeria Revenue Service has set an ambitious revenue target of 40.7 trillion naira for 2026, banking on stronger non-oil collections, expanded compliance, automation, and tighter enforcement to sustain recent growth momentum. The target was unveiled today at the Nigeria Revenue Service Management Retreat in Abuja. This represents a sharp increase of about 44% from the 28.29 trillion naira collected in 2025 and more than 6 times the 6.4 trillion naira recorded in 2021, reflecting the federal government's push to boost domestic revenue and reduce reliance on borrowing. Speaking at the retreat, the Executive Director of Government and Large Taxpayers at the NRS, Amina Ado, said the service's strong 2025 performance provided a solid base for the 2026 targets. She added that the gains were driven largely by operational improvements rather than inflation or exchange rate effects. Ado said non-oil revenue remained the key driver of growth and would account for the bulk of the 2026 targets, given the volatility associated with oil prices and production. Another short commercial break. Please stay tuned.
Cadbury 3-in-1 hot chocolate, the treat you deserve.
Welcome back. Operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency have arrested 6 suspects and seized a large quantity of illicit drugs during a raid on a notorious drug enclave in Ama Hausa, Boni Island, Rivers State, an operation that left 1 officer dead. In a statement today signed by its Director, Media and Advocacy, Femi Babafemi, the agency said the raid carried out on Friday, February 6, 2026, recovered cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, skunk, and tramadol. Chief Narcotic Agent Sadiq Mujahid sustained severe head injuries when the suspects, led by gang leader Genesis John Benson, mobilized armed hoodlums to resist arrest. Mujahid was rushed to a general hospital but later succumbed to his injuries. Despite the violent attack, NDLEA operatives successfully apprehended all 6 suspects, including Benson, who is alleged to have orchestrated the assault that led to Mujahid's death. Speaking on the incident, NDLEA Chairman and Chief Executive Officer, Brigadier General Muhammad Buba Mwarua, retired, praised the bravery of the operatives. Marwa also mourned the loss of the officer, describing him as a disciplined and courageous officer who paid the ultimate price in the service of his fatherland. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyesom Wike, has expressed profound optimism that the persistent political crisis in Rivers State is nearing a final resolution following a decisive fresh intervention by President Bola Tinubu. Speaking to journalists today in Abuja after inspecting several ongoing projects in the territory, the minister underscored the president's role as a unifying figure whose leadership was essential in addressing the friction between the state's executive and legislative arms. Reflecting on the specifics of the truths and expectations for both the Rivers State House of Assembly and Governor Siminalayi Fubara, the minister was clear about the path forward. The State Assembly, which is seen as loyal to Wike, had recently begun impeachment moves against the governor. As part of measures to find a political solution to the matter, President Tinubu had on Monday summoned Wike and Fubara to the presidential villa to mediate in the field. The joint health sector unions has warned of a renewed nationwide strike if the federal government fails to implement agreed salary adjustments by April. Chairman of JHSU, Cross River State Chapter, Dr. Basi Ika, made the disclosure on today in Calabar during an interview with newsmen. The warning follows the suspension of the union strike, which began on November 15, 2025, and was halted on February 6 by its national leadership. Ika said work resumed after members held congresses in their respective units and branches, adding that the strike was driven mainly by the non-review of the consolidated health salary structure introduced in 2009 without adjustment. According to him, doctors under the consolidated medical salary structure have enjoyed multiple reviews, widening the pay gap in the health sector. He said JHSU agreed to suspend the strike after the government appealed for time, pending committee approval expected by April. The Lagos state government has announced a partial closure of the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway for a period of 4 weeks. The closure, starting tomorrow, Wednesday, February 11, is to enable the Federal Ministry of Works to carry out rehabilitation on failed sections of the road. The State Commissioner for Transportation, Mr. Oluwaseun Oshiemi, disclosed this in a statement posted on the Lagos State Ministry of Transportation's X handle today. According to Oshiemi, the rehabilitation will cover the stretch from U-turn bus stop to Sango toll gate, affecting both inbound and outbound lanes of the expressway. To minimize traffic disruption, the commissioner said the project will be executed in 2 phases. He explained that phase 1, which will affect Abeokuta-bound traffic, will run from Wednesday, February 11 to Wednesday, March 4, 2026, covering the section from U-turn bus stop inward to Sango toll gate. It added that rehabilitation will be carried out on 1 lane at a time, noting that upon completion of the first half, traffic will be diverted to the rehabilitated section where work continues on the other half. It was a bright and lively day at Shubuola Memorial Nursery and Primary School alongside Emifumi College as institutions held their 50th annual Inter-House Sports competition. The event, which coincided with the 95th birthday of the school's founder, Chief Mrs. Olufomilayo Adeshina, drew students, teachers, parents, girls, and representatives of other schools, all gathered to celebrate talent and promote unity. Our reporter, Courage Oloyede, who covered the event in Ibadan, now reports.
Students from the various houses across Shubuola Memorial Nursery and Primary School, as well as Emifumi College, gathered to compete, have fun, and display their school spirit. From short sprint to novelty races, the school ground buzzed with cheers, laughter, and excitement as the event began with a colorful general parade symbolizing unity among the houses. In his address, the chairman of the day, architect Olumide Esho, emphasized that sports play a vital role in children's physical and mental development, helping to build discipline, teamwork, and balance alongside academic pursuits. He encouraged parents to support their children's participation, adding that sport also provides opportunities to discover and nurture talent.
A wonderful occasion. The events have been excellent, and the March Pass was extraordinary. Sports is so important. We find that sports is an integral part of the well-being of the children. Apart from the physical part, the mental part, the discipline, teamwork, and then the fact that they actually enjoy themselves. You know what they say, all work and no play makes Jack a definitely dull boy.
In her remarks, the school's director, Mrs. Bolatito Iyoge, highlighted the importance of school inter-house sports as including promotion of unity, joy, and teamwork, while giving students the opportunity to relax and enjoy themselves. She noted that this year's celebration was particularly significant as it coincided with the founder's 95th birthday, making a major milestone for the school community.
A body that dies is a body that is not fed. Exercise feeds your body and it makes you grow strong. The brain itself needs you to keep its exercise on a daily basis. That's why you have the academic exercise, and the physical exercise is for your body. My little bit is this, for the parents, is that the parents should encourage their children. The reason why you don't find children like this in the street is why they have a focus. Their bodies and mind, and everything is put together. And for the children, I want to tell them that they should keeping on. When you play hard, it gives you something to look forward to. When you work hard, it gives you something. And when you keep straight, it gives something to look forward to.
Other stakeholders, including the chairman PTA, Mr. Kazim Aziz, and Mr. Paul Afolabi, in their respective goodwill messages, stressed that inter-house sports help students discover talents beyond academics, noting that while some children excel in the classroom, others shine on the field, and both contribute to the holistic development. Students took part in various events, including sack race, relay race, skipping race, tug-of-war contest, and other novelty competitions. The inter-house sports also featured races for invited schools, parents, and staff, adding excitement and friendly rivalry to the celebration. At the end of the competition, Blue House emerged overall winners, while Yellow House coming second, Green House third, and Red House fourth. Trophies and awards were presented to the outstanding houses, while participation gifts were also given to invited schools, parents, and staff. Oyeshile Oloyede, BCOS News.
Now to our sports desk.
Warm welcome to you on the sports segment of the news tonight. I am Victor Opune.
We start with the news of 4 players who are ejected after a mass brawl as the Detroit Pistons beat the Charlotte Hornets 110-104 in a bad-tempered NBA fixture. Detroit's Jalen Duren was fouled by Charlotte's Musa Diabate during their third quarter, with the pair then confronting one another and appearing to butt heads. Diabate had to be held back as he tried to hit Duren before several other players got involved in the incident. Detroit forward Isaiah Stewart confronted Charlotte's Miles Bridges and put him in a headlock before appearing to strike him multiple times. The brawl lasted about 30 seconds, ending with a brief police presence on the floor. Diabate, Duren, Stewart, and Bridges were ejected, and Hornets coach Charles Lee was kicked out in the fourth quarter after he had to be restrained while angrily shouting at the officials, having disagreed with the decision. San Francisco 49ers defensive lineman Keyon White has had surgery after being shot in the ankle. The incident reportedly happened on Monday, and the injury is not considered career or life-threatening. The San Francisco Police Department is yet to make an arrest. White attended Sunday's Super Bowl at Levi's Stadium in California as his former team, the New England Patriots, lost to the Seattle Seahawks. The 27-year-old was traded to the 49ers in 2025 and, including the playoffs, made 11 appearances last season. The American has featured in 47 games, starting 20 since first being drafted in 2023. He has registered 100 tackles, 7.5 sacks, 9 passes defended, and 2 forced fumbles during his time with the 49ers and Patriots. He is the second 49ers player to be shot in the past 18 months after teammate Ricky Pearsall was injured during an attempted robbery. And as we wrap up in football, Paul Green has left his role as Chelsea's head of women's football after 13 years at the Women's Super League club. Green worked closely with former manager Emma Hayes, helping her deliver 5 successive WSL titles and reach a first Women's Champions League final. He acted as interim manager in Hayes' absence in 2022 when she had emergency eye hysterectomy surgery and has led recruitment across a number of successful transfer windows. The club said Green played a significant role in the development and growth of the women's program and contributed to the establishment of strong foundations and the evolution of Chelsea women into one of the leading teams in the domestic and European game. Chelsea have won 19 trophies during Green's spell at the club, but it is believed this role started to change when the women's team was restructured in 2024.
Thank you for joining us. It's a wrap on the sports segment of the news. Over now to the main desk for the rest of the news.
Samuel Marcus, a logistics specialist with the U.S. Department of Defense, has been arrested and charged with laundering millions of dollars for a group of Nigerian-based scammers. According to United States Attorney David Metcalf, Marcus was indicted on 1 count of conspiracy to commit money laundering, 6 counts of illegal monetary transactions, and 1 count of money laundering and illegal concealment. The indictment states that from July 2023 to December 2025, Marcus maintained direct and regular contact with the fraudsters who operated under the alliances Rachel Jude and Ned McMurray. Under their direction, he allegedly conducted rapid financial transactions to convert victim funds into cryptocurrency and moved the money into foreign accounts. Authorities allege that Marcus continued laundering funds even after being warned by FBI agents that the money passing through his accounts had been stolen. If convicted, he faces a maximum sentence of 100 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and a $2 million fine. The United States and Armenia have struck an agreement on civil nuclear cooperation amid a push by Washington to strengthen ties with the West Asian country that was once a close ally of Moscow. Foreign Desk Editor Folashade Akintola compiled details of what the deal is all about, and other stories are presented by Bimbo Akambi.
Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan and U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, who is on a 2-day visit to the country, signed the multi-billion-dollar nuclear energy deal on Monday. The deal, known as a 1-2-3 agreement, sees the United States entering a sector previously dominated by Russia, which had supplied the technology for the only nuclear power plant in the Republic. Vance said the agreement, which allows the U.S. to legally license nuclear technology and equipment to other countries, would enable up to $5 billion in initial U.S. exports to Armenia, plus an additional $4 billion in longer-term fuel and maintenance contracts. The deal related to small modular reactors, he said, adding that Washington had enough confidence in Armenia to supply it with this new technology. Vance's visit, the first to Armenia by a sitting U.S. president or vice president, comes 6 months after the Armenian and Azerbaijani leaders signed an agreement with the White House, seen as the first step towards peace after decades of war. In the meantime, President Donald Trump has threatened to block the opening of a bridge connecting the United States and Canada until Washington is fully compensated for everything it has given to its northern neighbor. Trump insisted that the Gordie Howe International Bridge connecting the Canadian province of Ontario to the United States of Michigan will not open until Ottawa treats the United States with the fairness and respect. According to the project's website, the bridge is being funded by the Canadian government but will be publicly owned by both Canada and Michigan. Michigan Senator Elissa Slotkin, a Democrat, said closing the incredibly important infrastructure project would be awful for the state's economy. It is not clear how President Trump would block its opening, but he said negotiations will begin immediately without elaborating. And finally, Australia is bracing for more demonstrations as political leaders and civic groups appealed for calm after police were accused of using excessive force against peaceful demonstrations, which came up against the visit of Israel's President Isaac Herzog to Sydney. Palestine Action Group Sydney called on supporters to gather on Tuesday afternoon to protest against police brutality and demand the resignation of government and police officers over what they described as the violent repression of peaceful demonstrators. Violence erupted on Monday evening in the heart of Sydney after police prevented thousands of peaceful protesters from marching in an area of the city that authorities had designated off-limits. Some estimates put the number of demonstrators at 50,000. Organizers of the protest said police pepper-sprayed and assaulted rally-goers. Police said 27 people were arrested, including 10 allegedly for assault. Abigail Boyd, an opposition Greens lawmaker in Australia's state parliament, said she was punched by police officers at a rally and witnessed police violence against others. Protests organizers say the Israeli president, whom a United Nations Commission of Inquiry has found to be responsible for inciting genocide against Palestinians in Gaza by Israeli forces, should not be immune from protests against his visit to Australia. Bimbo Akambi, BCOS News.
To end the news around the world, here again are the main points. The Senate today amended Section 60 of the Electoral Act to allow presiding officers at polling units to electronically transmit election results to the Independent National Electoral Commission's INEC Results Viewing Portal, IREV. The Deputy Governor of Oyo State, Barrister Bayo Lawal, today called for the interrogation of the federal structure of Nigeria if the country craves for growth and development. Barrister Lawal made the call while contributing as a panelist at the 2026 National Economic Council Conference held at the Banquet Hall of the State House, Abuja. Samuel Marcus, a logistics specialist with the U.S. Department of Defense, has been arrested and charged with laundering millions of dollars for a group of Nigerian-based scammers, U.S. authorities announced. Site is live. Kindly visit www.bcostv.com. You can reach us on GoTV, channel 134 and channel 113 on Star Times. Now, before I go, Nigeria belongs to us all. Do everything possible to make her great. And that ends the news around the world. On behalf of the news crew, I say thank you very much for watching. Good night.
Public service announcement. The Oyo State Rule of Law Enforcement Authority earlier has issued a 14-day notice eviction to owners and occupants of illegal structures, shanties, kiosks, stores, and ram selling points around the Obafemi Awolowo Stadium, Liberty Road, Okeado, Ibadan. The directive, effective from Tuesday 27th January 2026, mandates all affected persons to vacate the area and remove every unlawful structures within the stipulated period, with expiration on 13th February 2026. For a safer, cleaner, orderly, and investors-friendly environment, announcer, the chairperson, Oyo State Rule of Law Enforcement Authority, Honorable Justice Aderoke Aderemi, retired.